Welcome to Friday's edition of Renew. I'm Pastor Tony. Thanks for joining us, and let's get right into it today. We're talking about the reality that God created us, mankind, as three-dimensional beings. We are a spirit, we have a soul, and we live in a physical body. We've already looked at the fact that God created us as spirit beings first, and then formed our physical bodies out of the dust of the ground and placed those spirits that He had already created in His likeness and image in those physical bodies, so we would have a physical experience and live in this physical realm. We also found out that spiritual death occurred when Adam ate off that forbidden tree. Now, death occurred first of all in his spirit. He immediately experienced spiritual death, separation from God, separation from the life of God, and he actually got born again in reverse. He took on himself the nature of his new spiritual father, which was Satan himself. And then that spiritual death proceeded outward over a process of time. His physical body eventually died, 930 something years or whatever it was. But then Jesus said to Nicodemus, He said, you must be born again. Nicodemus was confused because he was thinking naturally. He was thinking he had to be born again physically a second time. That's not what Jesus was saying. He said that which is born of the flesh is flesh. That which is born of the spirit is spirit. So the new birth, the born again experience occurred like spiritual death, like the original creation in our spirits first, and then it proceeds outward through a renewed mind with New Covenant, New Testament principles and realities. We start thinking like this, and then of course it manifests outwardly and expresses outwardly in a physical life in our physical bodies eventually. So everything proceeds from the inside out. Spiritual creation, spiritual death, and again, spiritual life and the new creation proceeds from the inside, the spirit realm, outward. Now let's look over to the book of 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. And we're going to see some things that line up with what I just said right there. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse number 16. It says, therefore we do not lose heart. Even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. Now, he's not saying right here that we have two different people or two beings living in the same person. That's not what he's saying right here. He's making a distinction between the two parts of us, the outward man, the part of us, the physical part of us, the physical body, and the inward man being our spirit. He said there is a distinguishing mark between those two. Our physical body is still under decay, under the decaying process, under the dying process. And it will occur until we receive a glorified body eventually someday. And we are going to have that. God's already purchased that in our redemption. He's going to give us a glorified body that's not subject to aging, deterioration, decay, physical death, or any of those other things. It'll live forever, just like our spirit being. But notice he's talking about our outward man is perishing, but the inward man. Now what's the inward man? That is our spirit being. He said our inward man, our spirit being, is being renewed day by day. It has the life of God on the inside of it. Jesus said in John chapter 4 to the woman at the well, He said, I'm going to give you another well of living water on the inside of you that continually bubbles up into everlasting life. Now what is He talking about? An eternal life within our spirits, not in our physical body, but in our spirits. Now he goes on in verse number 18. We're going to skip down for just sake of time. He says, while we do not look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. Now again, what is he talking about right here? Exactly what he was saying in verse number 16. The things which are seen are what? Physical things. The physical realm that we live in. That does not determine reality. That does not determine who we are. That does not determine our identity. It only determines this is a physical realm that we're presently living in. And he's saying, do not look at the things which are seen. Now, he's not saying right here that we are to deny the physical realm and what we feel. That's false cults and, all kind of weird religions and everything else. That's not what he's saying right here. He's not saying deny, because this is not a life of denial. We are living in physical body. We see physical things. We we determine things around us. What he's saying is, do not focus, do not consider, do not live by the things which are seen. In other words, we're not to live from the outside in, we're to live from the inside out. So he says, while we do not look, focus, consider, gain our identity and reality by the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. Now, what is he referring to here? The things that are not seen. Again, verse 16, he's referring to the inward man, the spirit. See, just because it's not seen with the physical eyes does not mean it is not real or does not exist. You can't see God, you can't see angels, the spiritual realm of God, you can't see your spirit. When you look in the mirror in the morning, you see your body, don't you? And it's easy to go back over into that fleshy realm, to that carnal realm of, just living outwardly and make our determinations of who we are, our reality, our identity, our life according to the outward. But he's saying don't do that. He's saying you need to look at the things which are not seen, the spiritual realm, the spiritual realities of God. He says, for the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Notice the things which are seen physically, outwardly, they're all temporary. They're all subject to change. They're all changing all the time. He said, but the things which are not seen are eternal. They're not subject to change. That's the way they're always going to be. So which would we rather gain our identity, our sense of reality, and live our life according to? The temporary things, the things that are changing from day to day, year to year, decade to decade, so on and so forth? Or are we to make our life, our identity, the source of our reality according to something that is eternal? Well, if it's eternal, it's got to be the unseen spiritual realm of God. Well, that's all the time I've got for today and for this week. Join us again next week as we pick up from here and go further in our study here on spirit, soul, and body. If you'd like additional resources and materials, go to tonycowan.org and we will see you next week.